Caught wife sexting pics, videos, with the SRO officer at school she works at. It's been over a week now since I went through my wife of 2.5 years' phone, and found out she had been having a relationship with the SRO officer at the school she works at. We have one child who is 3 years old. The other guy is also married with a child. She admitted it had been on and off for 6 months or so. She was pregnant last year and miscarried at 12 weeks. My first thought was questioning if it was mine. She told me it was never physical and it was only ever just words, pictures, and videos. I saw things I never knew she was capable of. She told me she had been mostly unhappy our whole marriage and that I was never emotionally available. I'll admit I had been verbally abusive at times. Fast forward 5 days after telling her we needed time apart and splitting time with our daughter, I spoke with an attorney and didn't like what he had to say. I make 9 times, give or take, what she makes because she has never worked full-time since we've been together, and we have put a lot of time and money on additions to the house. On top of rental property I had prior to our marriage, I wasn't ready to start the process, so I let her come back. I have already started therapy, but she still hasn't, even though she said she will. A part of my regrets letting her come back because she basically got off with little to no consequences. I think I want to work things out, but I know she gaslights me and is extremely manipulative. I'm just lost and depressed and I'm hoping to find answers to therapy. Quick backstory. She got pregnant as soon as I finished my undergrad. She dropped out and hasn't gone back to finish. I rolled right into my master's program when our daughter was born. I was never not working full-time, and I've also been in the reserves going on 7 years now, which she admitted to being mostly involved with him on the weekends I was gone. I knew I was busy. I just thought it's what I had to do. We weren't married when she got pregnant. We were barely even dating. I fell in love with her quick, even before she got pregnant. She has told me in the past that this was forced, and I feel like she resents me for our relationship. And I've also told her before that I'm not sure if we'd be married if it wasn't for our daughter. Is there any hope for us? Let's get some quick comments then see what the update says. Too old for this nonsense, has this to say? You talked a lot about what you're doing. The thing that matters is what is she doing? Also, don't let her blame any of this on you. Regardless of your faults, she made decisions to go outside the marriage for attention and likely sex. Be prepared for a lot of trickled truth. I'd pull the rip cord, but we all have to make our own way. Historically, Broken has this to say. So if she isn't making changes on her own, without you telling her what she needs to do, she doesn't care. Period. She'll eventually probably ask you what she needs to do, and she'll want some kind of list so she can check off the boxes. That means nothing, by the way. You're gonna always know it was just to check off the boxes so you would shut up. Then it allows her to say, well, see, I did what you told me to. Why are you complaining? They need to do it on their own. They need to do the research and figure out the things they are going to do to fix things. They can ask you like, hey, do you think if I did this, that would be of assistance to you? That would be one thing, an answer to those questions. But if she needs you to tell her what to do, forget it. What is happening is you know in your mind what they're doing. And so then the action, despite the fact that maybe it was hard for them to do, becomes less meaningful. It becomes something that they only did because you said for them to do it, and it's not like it's hard for them to figure out what the right actions are. It's all over the internet and books, going to a therapist. Based on where she's at, you're going to have a miserable life going forward. I knew a guy who stuck by just for his kid. By the time she turned 18, he left the marriage and finally got a divorce. He looked like he had aged 10,000 years and was so miserable for giving up his life. Better off to leave and pay the penalties that you don't deserve to pay, but at least you get peace of mind. Most states' alimony only goes for 2 to 3 years anyways, then she will be on her own. While 2 to 3 years sucks to be footing the bill for a remorseless cheater, I'd say it's far cheaper than a lifetime of caution tying that weight. Go speak to another lawyer. The first one isn't always the best. Alright. On to the update. FYI, this is a very emotionally dynamic post. It changed from advice to progress to need support multiple times. I apologize for the rambling. It's been about 3.5 weeks since D-Day now. I paid the retainer this week. I will be going on today to sign some stuff. I'm going to take a decent hit because she doesn't make hardly any money, but I'll manage. As long as I can somehow negotiate me keeping the house. I ended up telling the affair partner's wife, and she stayed in contact for a couple weeks trying to figure out what we could. They both had the same story of not being physical, just sex, pictures, and videos. He did tell his wife that he could have done whatever with her because she was so persistent and he couldn't go through with it, but who knows? Doesn't make a difference to me, but they are trying to work it out. So more power to them. They still work together, but my soon-to-be ex says they don't speak still doesn't make a difference for me. Our living situation is becoming frustrating. At first, I thought we would maybe try and work things out. We're both in individual counseling, but I told her last weekend I want a divorce and would like her to move in with her mom, where she will inevitably end up going because she can't afford anything on her own yet. She said she's not leaving because that means she's taking the blame for all and she refuses. I want to keep the house because I don't have anywhere else to uproot as quick as she could, and our house is a gold mine with an unfinished addition I quit working on last month. She said I neglected her so much and was only committed to work, grad school, home projects, etc. It's difficult for me to not lose it when she still continues to downplay her actions. She says that her marriage has been a wreck for as long as she can remember and that she would rather be poor and feel wanted than rich and feeling neglected. I have been leaving work early and picking up our daughter more, and giving her baths at night more. It's not that I didn't want to before. I just worked late a lot, and I just thought she enjoyed doing that stuff more. I told her my mistakes stayed inside our family where she went outside of it. But she still refuses to believe our mistakes were different. I feel like I can admit I lacked in the husband department, but I don't want to believe I wasn't a good father. We were planning to sell our house this month and living at our mom's while we built on property. We were supposed to buy this month too. I was leaving for officer training in August with the Air National Guard. I was supposed to take my board's exam the 22nd this month. I also picked up a part-time consulting job just to get some extra money for vacation this summer. I know I stretched myself thin. I have always done that. I'm only 26, and I know I've accomplished so much, but it honestly feels like it was all for nothing. All of these plans are shattered, and she says they were always my plans, not hers. I tried asking her opinion on so many things, and her response was always, I don't know. So I always made the decisions with job changes, moving, finances, etc. I just feel so lost in life now. I wish I knew what the future looked like. I still think about it if it's worth sticking it out because her family is the only family I have too, and it's going to be very difficult to let that go on top of all the other changes. I know deep down it probably wouldn't work out though. I'm a planner and I try to have short-term and long-term plans. Obviously, I know things change. But this scenario has completely wrecked my train of thought, and I honestly have no idea what to do with anything anymore. Okay. On to the community again. Truth's Merchant starts us off. Fellow officer here, also a planner, worked for C6 in Kuwait many years ago, and other planning jobs within the military. I understand, so much, how this has derailed and confounded you. 1. Have you lawyered up? Sounds like you have. However, ensure she gets nothing related to your military career. 1A. Make sure the lawyer is aware of the differences in financial outlay at this point. 1B. You may want to consider full custody and DNA tests for the child or children. Sorry. 1C. Consider alimony in lieu of her retaining any rights to the house. Yes. This is an initial financial pain and will set you back. Temporarily, do not voice this to her, talk with one. 2. You have young apprentice, gained, albeit painfully, that most valuable commodity experience. Do not squander this in future relationships. For example, be most careful going forward, emotionally, intellectually, and physically. 3. Do not get her pregnant. She has demonstrated repeatedly her immaturity. I'm being kind and unwillingness to bring or provide anything to the marriage other than converting oxygen to carbon dioxide C6A. 4. You will meet many people throughout your life. The military in some respects will be your new family for good and bad. 4A, I assume her family knows about the affair. 4A1, do not assume they will take your side. 5. If her name is not on the mortgage, you have leverage. 6. The SRO, with whom she had an affair, my recommendation is New Kim. However, your lawyer, Seat 1, may advise otherwise. 6A. If you go this route, do not use the launch codes yet. Again, leverage. My rationale is once he has been exposed and probably fired, she will temporarily lurch out of her affair fog and come back to you. I want to emphasize this is temporary. 7. If you go with the nuclear route on the SRO, be prepared for the cheating spouse to defend him. Won't make sense to you, but this is a possibility. 8. She has shown repeatedly her inability to demonstrate remorse or even responsibility for her actions. This above and beyond the cheating is evidence that she has little to no respect for you and merely considers you her provider. 9. Having said 4 and 8, the removal of certain people from your life is deemed addition by subtraction. That was a lot to take in. What did the op have to say in response? Yes. My attorney is very helpful. She will only get half of my retirement contributions since being married. She will be kicked off of TRICARE the date the marriage ends. She will lose her dependent ID, and she won't be able to get any of that back on my behalf. My DNA tested my daughter when she was way younger without my wife knowing. The goal is to keep the house at all costs for multiple reasons, knowing the hit I take temporarily. Her mom knows and we spoke in the beginning without my spouse knowing, but we don't talk anymore. I'm sure her family knows something is up. But I've made peace with losing them and then probably not getting the whole story. Her name is not on the mortgage, and my attorney did advise me to not file an official report on the SRO. Both of these can help with leverage. Sampa to NYC says, remember, none of this is your fault. The betrayed spouse should never accept blame for the wayward spouse's affair. She had options yet. She made conscious decisions to betray you. Also, she has not accepted the blame and shown no remorse for her actions. You're doing the right thing and divorcing her. The two most important people in this equation are you and your daughter, period. Your daughter needs at least one parent who is thinking and acting responsibly. Listen to your attorney and press forward. Despite whatever temporary financial hit you may feel, you actually hold all the cards. You are still very young, ambitious, and successful with great career prospects ahead of you. Your soon-to-be ex seems very immature and manipulative. You might want to start thinking of this as a starter marriage. The rest of your life